Okay, on to the next Skip the Line reaction, man. This is Kate Bush, Running Up the Hill. Never heard of this artist. I don't think we've ever reacted to this artist. This is a Skip the Line reaction from Frank Warner, and he's saying it's from 1985, which was the year I was born, and it's for the squad. Let's rock and roll, man. Let's see what we got over here. Let's get straight into it. Let's go. That 90s, 80s instrumental feel.
It doesn't hurt me. Do you wanna feel how it feels? Do you wanna know that it doesn't hurt me? Do you wanna hear about the deal they're making?
Does this sound familiar to me? I don't know if I've ever reacted to this, but I've heard this before. When? I don't remember doing a Kate Bush reaction, but why does this feel familiar to me? I don't know. It's crazy, like in the 1980s, you always had that Patrick Swayze type looking video. There's always a window with light coming in a empty room completely, and then it's just that, you know, that intimate dancing. Lyrics are pretty cool. I'll touch on that shortly.
Running up that road, they're running up that hill, they're running up that building. See if
I like the dancing as well. I like this song. I like specifically, I love it when they pair up contemporary dancing with a song like this, right? Because it really does just add. It's almost like putting two languages together, in my personal opinion, right? Because contemporary dance for me, or dance as a whole, is a language, but contemporary dance more so for me personally, because it really does, you know, the movements and everything just speak to a storyline. And over here, it's obviously it's a relationship between two people. It's the man and the woman, right? They all have their own struggles in life, and they go through their own things, and they hurt each other in different ways. But I kind of feel like this song speaks to, like, not really sort of understanding each other's strife and understanding each other's pains, because you don't really know how people, like, you can, you know, if you with your wife for a long time, and you obviously you'll pick up on certain patterns, you'll pick up on things that she doesn't like, but you don't really know how something really hurts her down below, and you might not understand. And a lot of time in like a relationship, there's always going to be a slightly more dominant one. You know, it might be the man or might be the woman who's more dominant, more domineering, and the other one's kind of more submissive, in the sense, like, I'd rather just, like, not so confrontational, I'd rather just let things go and stuff like that. But that pain still, you know, still hurts, still lies there. And if it's not spoken about, it's not communicated, eventually the relationship deteriorates. Communication always, the lack of communication is what always leads to a relationship deteriorating, right? But this over here kind of speaks to like when she says, I'd like to make a deal with God where we could actually switch roles for a bit, so that you can experience what I experience, so you can understand it better, right? Which I think is very cool, which also comes through on the contemporary dancing, the fact that they're actually dressed in exactly the same way, right? And it's almost like they're moving in the same way, but in opposite things, and then it's like they have almost the same movements, and then they go into like this sense of like where they're together in their uniform, and it's kind of like trying to pass on that message that you don't really understand my pain, and you're not walking in my shoes, you're not walking in my boots, and you don't know. And it's very easy for someone to misunderstand that in their partner, because a lot of times we like to stick to our rightness. We don't like to immediately jump to the understanding thing. We jump to how can we justify our own actions. And it happens all the time, and it's just a human nature thing to do. And a lot of the times that also gets, your partner's argument can be pushed aside, because instead of actually listening and understanding, even if they're trying to give you advice, we tend to like just talk over all the time. So talk over, I know better, I know better, I know better. And if you're somebody that is far more able to articulate an argument, and you're better with your vocabulary, you can easily overpower someone. Just because somebody can't really structure exactly what they want to say, or convey what they want to say in words, right? You tend to think like, okay, well, you can misconstrue that. And she might actually just be giving you really good advice. She might be telling you like, listen, you're going to run into a wall, and I'm trying to tell you not to do that. But because, you're not listening, and she's not kind of able to convey that as well as you might, right? And you're not listening, you might just run into that wall at the end of the day, So it's very important to actually listen to each other. Sometimes it's hard, but it's very important to actually sit down and communicate. And a lot of the times, all of these issues, I find, all of these issues that you have, the majority of issues that you have with your partner is much about nothing. It's all bullshit, man. It's all the small things. You fight and you make these big things out of the smallest things in the world. And then it kind of just snowballs into this massive argument. And by the end of that, you're like, Jesus, what was that all for, man? I could have just let it go, and I could have let go of my rightness right at the beginning and been like, okay, cool, nah, I get you, sorry. No, I would apologize. But we're too egotistical, and we stick to our pride a lot of the times. We don't really often put ourselves in a position to understand somebody else. And that's, I'm saying, I'm including myself, I'm including, the majority of society. That's just how we are, right? Specifically in an argument, we're going to sit there and be like, you know what I mean? You want to like desperately get your point across without listening to the other side, specifically in the heat of the moment, right? And only once it snowballs and it becomes something like ridiculous do you sit there and you take a bit of a moment, and you step aside and you be like, wait a second, what is the point? What was the point of all of this? Why did it have to go this far? Look, my arguments with my wife don't really go too far, because I usually will have an argument and then be like, okay, leave me alone. Leave me alone, and I'll just go away. I'll go to my office. I'll never leave the house. My father always used to leave the house. I'll never leave the house. I'll never leave my wife and be like, oh, I'm going out. That's ridiculous. You're being a child and a coward. I would just be like, okay, I go to my office, close the door. Just leave me alone. Right? And then like half an hour later, I'll go to her and I'm like, okay, I thought about it. Sorry, my bad. Like, my bad. I was being too cocky about this. I wasn't thinking about this properly. I apologize. My wife does the same thing with me. So it really does help a hell of a lot.
It's you and me. It's you and me. You won't be unhappy, and if only could, I'd make a deal with God, and I'd get him to swap out places. Be running on that road, be running on that hill, be running on that building. If only
Love that. I like that, because that kind of depicts like, your synchronicity with your partner comes down to your understanding of her like likes and dislikes. Do you know what I mean? So it's all basically, this whole song to me is a song of just communication, right? And when you communicate with her, all of a sudden you're not moving in opposite directions. It's not this like pulling force. It's actually this attracting force, because you're actually talking about it and you're working through things, and then all of a sudden you get a synchronicity with that person.
It's you and me. It's you and me. You won't be unhappy. Come on, baby. Come on, darling. Let me steal this moment from you now. Come on, angel. Come on, darling. Let's exchange the experience.
See, she actually said it right there. Let's exchange the experience, right? You be in my shoes and I be in your shoes, and maybe you'll understand this better. Like that. You see, I like that over there, because she's basically trying to say that I feel sometimes that, I can feel overpowered. So she's trying to get out of this, where I feel a bit overpowered. And that's what I'm saying with regards to a relationship. One person will be a little bit stronger, a little bit more dominant, and the other person will be a little bit more submissive and less confrontational, right? And that can make someone feel like they're completely like overpowered, completely smothered, by someone who's not willing to let go of their rightness and things like that. And maybe it's a good thing would be like, maybe share the experience, see how it is from my side, and see how this can feel claustrophobic to me. I like that. Nice. The one thing I will say about that particular song is I like that instrumentation over there that's from the 90s, 80s. That instrumentation for me it sounds too monotonous. So if I had to listen to that song, I could listen to that song once, or twice maybe, but it doesn't really have replay value for me, although the lyrics are very good. Because of that instrumentation, it just sounds too monotonous, like that kind of vibe. And that for me, sonically, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get tired of this. Right? And I don't know, it had a very interesting sound then. I much preferred the 1970s sound, 1960s and 1970s sound. The 1980s and 1990s sound started to sound a little too progressive to me and a little too monotonous to me. And then we kind of broke out of that as well. I don't know. Am I making any sense over here? You guys let me know what you think. But I think you might understand what I'm saying. I don't know. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.